Our lights are on, cameras on. We're ready for action. I'm super excited. It's jaw time with Realtor Jeet with a very special guest today. The mastermind behind this whole jaw time with Realtor Jeet. My very close friend, my mentor, my coach, Sekou Pyle, who is the ultimate go-giver that I know of. And I'm just super excited to bring him up here. He is a real estate agent in New Jersey, part of the eXp Realty team as well. And he has been growing. And so during the pandemic, I'm going to bring him up right now because I want to clap my hands after I say this. During the pandemic, so before the pandemic, Sekou had 1K Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to go on those. And then during the pandemic, it still kept running. And then Sekou had this mastermind at 8 o'clock where all agents from any company was welcome to come in, and he would be coaching you for free at 8 o'clock every day. It was an accountability call. And then in the morning, you have lead gen, and you learn a lot. With Sekou, you learn a lot.
We do a lot of lead gen, man. We do a lot of stuff.
Definitely. And if you meet him in person, if you're blessed enough to meet him in person, gosh, the energy is just filled with love. And,
if you let me outside, I'll just do anything, man. let me, if you may, if I may, if you will, let me just say this. I met you and your brother at the same time, I believe. We met, and we were talking about EXP in New York, and we were at that event. And from the very first time I met you, I sensed the energy, the enthusiasm, the absolute love that I get. And I want to say that what you see is what you get from Harjeet. And it is an honor and a pleasure to hang out with you anytime I get to hang out with you. Anytime.
Same here.
Anytime. And I'm enjoying some of your special jaw. You know I can't say it right. I'm trying. Jaw.
There you go. It's like cha-cha-cha.
Cha-cha-cha. Listen. I am watching you do amazing things. I'm watching you help so many people. And I can't tell you how, if I may, I can't tell you how proud I am of you. I it's awesome. It is awesome to be around you, and it's awesome to see you doing these things.
And I'm grateful for you because you're a huge part of that. You're such a huge part of that. I tell everyone, I think I've said it in a few videos prior to this one. And a lot of people who I talk to, when I talk about video, and people are like, oh, you're so, you're really getting out there. There are two people who helped me with videos. And one of them is you, where, I stopped doing videos because I was too self-conscious of myself. And I wouldn't come on the video if my hair was messed up or if whatever. I don't really care about the makeup, but really it's my hair. If anybody knows me, it's my hair and eyebrows.
Well, it looks good, especially to me, okay?
So, and that's what you and Dave Finale, and Dave's going to be coming on next week, said. Why do you care? Nobody cares how you look. Just give the value that you have.
Yeah.
Like, that's so true.
Yeah. You have a way with, so the way that they talk about how folks have a way with words, you have a way with energy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's I don't think I've ever met somebody that works with energy the way you do. I've seen you at our 8 o'clock calls, and you got kids crawling on you, and you got homework happening over there, and you're making, roti and things like that. Like, you're doing all kinds of stuff at the same time, and still, I feel like I'm standing next to you. I feel like I'm a part of it. I feel like I'm welcome to your table. It's something that is very rare that you find genuinely in people. You can find manufactured, like, Rachel Ray, she's pandemic, she was in her house and this and that. Yeah, okay. But I feel more connected to you than I would to Rachel Ray. Let me say that right now. No disrespect, Rachel, if you're out there, no disrespect. But
Wow. You see kind of the roti and making the jaw. I did make jaw just now, like in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not as professional as you. It takes me a longer time to do it.
Listen,
But I got a kit that I got from Jeet. I'm not telling anybody, but I got a whole kit and I'm almost empty.
you'll get another one. I know your son's doing awesome making the jaw.
Yes, yes, yes. My son loves cha.
Mm.
And and his name is Ja.
Oh wow,
Jah, right? So his name is Ja and he loves Ja. Cha. Ja.
that is awesome. Put a hashtag that. Jaw loves jaw.
Ja loves Ja. Oh man, this is great.
Thank you, Sekou. I really wanted to take the time here and thank you for coming on because really you are the mastermind behind Realtor Jeet, Jaw with Realtor Jeet. I don't know when you. Oh, I guess it was a video that I made a while ago.
When you were making you were home making it.
Yeah.
And you had the strainer.
Yeah, and he's like, "Wow, do something with that."
Yeah, man.
And here I am a year and a half later, and it's all because of you. So I am so grateful and honored that I get to have you here on this call. I've had some really amazing people on the call.
This is why I'm honored that I'm sharing the same space that some of my favorite authors and speakers and motivating minds and coaches have been on. So I'm all like, I'm in the same space as these folks,
It's amazing. It's so great. And it's all, we had Jeremiah's J-Man Speaks last 2 weeks ago. And that's something that he said, you attract your tribe, and your tribe attracts each other. So this is what comes of it. And I'm just so grateful that I get to share the space with amazing people like you and Dave Finale and Jeremiah's. And I had Bob Berg and John and Anaman last 2 weeks ago. John Zenner is an amazing attorney right here in New York. And he was teaching about divorce and
like probate and things.
All of that. And we're going to go into trust the next time. I might speak on his, and he's going to come back, and we're going to talk about trust.
Well, here's something that I think you should know. I don't miss any of your broadcasts.
Oh, thank you.
I got the little bell clicked on your broadcast, so I get it's an announcement and lets me know that you're gonna go live and you're gonna go do your thing and that stuff like that. So
that's so amazing. Thank you. Yeah. So don't forget to click like and that little bell. Also
subscribe.
Subscribe. Sekou has his YouTube account where he does his 2K Wednesdays. 2K Wednesdays now, right? Or are we at 5?
We had to take it to 10K Wednesdays
10K.
because of folks like yourself and the way that this whole crew has been performing. We're doing March to $1 million again.
Yeah.
Right. And we're at $89 million worth of business created with all of you agents, right? And it's like, for me, like, I'm like the guy on the sideline that's like the cheerleader, like, hey, look at what you're doing. And I'm going bananas watching folks in Atlanta, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, Maryland, New York. You guys were operating with one hand tied behind your back for a little while. 2 hands tied behind your back, hopping on one foot. Have they lifted some of those sanctions yet?
Nope.
Oh,
no, the only thing we've got lifted right now, I believe, if I'm correct, if it hasn't changed, don't take my word for it, it's not.
That's it. Yeah, you guys could go out and get sick, but don't call.
Don't call, don't knock on doors. Yeah, so we're still a bit stuck in that sense of normal business. So we have to be creative and find different ways. And thankfully, you know what? There's an adversity. adversity.
I went to New York City public school system, so anything sounds good to me.
And any adversary. I hope I'm saying the word right.
Sounds good to me.
There's a blessing
Mm-hmm.
behind that. And you know, when I started, when I don't know if I hear effort.
You might. I don't know. Let me see if I can. My microphone.
No,
If you see my settings,
it's good. With any, yes, there's a blessing in disguise, and that blessing is that we've got to take ourselves out of normal day-to-day business and when I started real estate, that's something that I was thinking about, like how could I use technology rather than go knock on doors. It's not something I wanted to like start my career through that. I just didn't want to continue. Like, I didn't see myself 10 years from now
knocking on doors and doing that. Well, I'll tell you what, you know, no matter what side of the debate people are on, the world shutting down for a year and a half or 2 years, or arguably 2.5 years, right? The world shutting down and ultimately saying that we couldn't do things the way we were used to doing things led to the opportunity to take a quantum leap in the way that things are done. And so last year we did something like 80 transactions without setting foot in the property before the inspection. So so some people looked at it and said they accessed the complaint part of their brain. Some people looked at it and said, well, I can't do it like that. My people don't want to buy houses like that. And, you know, nobody's going to want to buy a house without seeing it and touching the walls and things like that. And they were right. They didn't get anybody to do that with them. And then there was people that were like, you know, well, let's see what we can do and let's see how we can accommodate and let's see how we can grow. And now, today, those same people that adjusted during the shutdown are the same people that are like going crazy, outperforming everybody now that there's more like a hybrid. And I have more people that are like, do we have a digital alternative even today than I ever have before, you know?
And you really, you were a pillar of one of those. And I want actually take a moment to talk about that because you're doing this week right now.
The Appointment Academy.
So I have it up here. It's called Appointment Academy. I'm going to put, if I know how to do this right, I'm going to put you on the screen, Sekou, as just you. Good. Oh, there you are.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And Sekou's going to talk to us a little bit about the Appointment Academy because I'm going to go get my shirt that Sekou's wearing.
Come in with the copy. So check this out, right? So we once a month we get together, you know, around the country to do this thing called the Appointment Academy. It's the flagship program at the Commitment to Captain Coaching Company, and we look to take a single day in the life of the most productive agents I know, and we deconstruct it over the course of a week, over the course of those 5 days. And what it allows us to do is we not only study the habits, the rituals, the systems, the practices of these agents, but it allows us to take action, and we can examine what parts of this works best for us, what parts we feel like we need to grow. I'm sorry, but after your daughter did her video, nobody else can rock it the same way, Jeet. You're muted still. So those habits and rituals, if we deconstruct them over the course of 5 days, it allows us to take a granular look at what needs to happen on a daily basis as a routine for a productive agent. So take, for example, you know, everybody's like trying to figure out the best way to communicate with folks, right? I have tons of agents that rely heavily on sending out mailers, right? Sending out mailers. Well, it often surprises agents to know that less than 5% of the country even goes to their mailbox. Like, forget taking the stuff out, examining it, and taking action on it. A lot of folks just leave their mailbox stuffed until they absolutely have to take stuff out of it. And then maybe they might, right? That if less than 5% go to the mailbox and 88% open up their text messages, right? It would be absolutely insane for us to not leverage the text message or the instant message in growing our business. So I have people on both sides of the aisle, right? Both sides of this debate. Some people are like, oh, well, I don't want to intrude on their phone. And then I have the diehard telephone people that are like, text message isn't real and blah, blah, blah. And while they debate that, we're making tons and tons of contacts in business and growing. The Appointment Academy is a lot of fun. We had Mark Stein on today, Mark the Misfit.
Oh, that's
We've got day finale coming either Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday. I've got Grant Wise and the Whitley crew coming. I've got the Attract Zen committee coming. You
have some amazing people coming.
What? We have a whole lot of fun. We miss you, Jeet, but you are busy doing a bunch of deals. So,
And I love that you spoke about that, Sekou, about systems. Creating a system, and you really helped me. That's something that I was lost with, because I knew what to do. Just we all need a system to work with, and that's one of the major takeaways I got from you and Dave, is creating a system. And I spoke that I'm going to be speaking to Dave Finale, which is one of Sekou's coaches and mentors, next week. And I was on a call with him sometime at the end of last year. And I told him, I said, I was making deal after deal after deal my first year. And then it just went down. And then I had to get back onto it because I knew how to work my sphere. It was like, how do you build a system outside of that then? So he said, why don't you do this? Go back to your calendar and see what worked for you. What have you changed? That was one of the things that he told me. And I went back to my 2017, and I saw what I did. And I was like, oh, I got to do that. And so I did. I went back, and I went back to old school.
And you got the book. There you go. Listen, the people that are out there listening, the people that are out there watching, the most important thing that you could do is learn from people who are doing, right? It's I don't need to tell you. What needs to happen is I need to show you, right? And what happens is that Jeet is telling you one of the foundational principles in her business is to just examine what works and do it. Oh, the professional failure journal. Look at that. It's an easy equation. We've been adding language to the system, right? To the and so the language that we've added based on your success and like Lisa and Drea and things like that is we call it the script of process, right? We call it the script of process. It's when you can lay out like it was a script, when you can lay out what you do so that someone else, like a temp, can come in and just take over for you. That's when your process is rocking. That's when your system is rocking. Yep. When you could put your book, your script of process in front of another agent and they can continue on your path. You might not be finished, but you definitely have arrived. Okay. So
yeah. I love that. So it's something that we spoke about a while back, duplication. We can duplicate ourselves. And
it's the only thing that makes this business so effective at changing the lives of the people around you, right? And we don't look at each other as competition. Um, most of us that have been in this business, most of us started as a customer or a client, and either through great service or terrible service decided to get into this business.
Yeah. I hear it all the time. I had the best agent, the best producing agent say, I had said to myself, if this person could do this, I sure can do this.
I say this about myself constantly. I'm like, people are asking me, well, how do you do this and how do you do that? I'm like, I don't really know. I just Google it. But if I can figure it out, I know you could figure it out.
I say the same thing. Oh my gosh. I want to share something that that's helped me, talking about systems that's helped me, and I'm going to share it with you and Appointment Academy and anybody listening. This is one of the books from Bob Berg.
Endless referrals.
Yeah.
Writing it down.
I read this and immediately started applying. You already know me, Sekou. I will apply whatever value I get. So,
well, that's your superpower.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wish.
It is.
Look at that.
System. And I have it right here next to me. And when I'm talking to people, and right away.
And send it.
Mm-hmm.
Listen. Listening to you, watching you grow, your superpower, if for those of you that don't know, anybody watching this, her superpower is she takes action. She takes risks. When it's time for her to develop business, she goes, what did these 5 people that are closest to me say? Bob says, you look for endless referrals, you provide excellent service, you create go-giver relationships. Steve says this, that, and the other thing. David says, check on your past to see what worked for you in the past. Sekou says, go out and make a mess and clean up the progress. Like, okay, I'm going to go and do these things. And of all of the people that I know, you'll come back with feedback. I tried this, and this is the result I got. I'm looking for a different result. And how would you tweak that? As a coach, I'm waving the flag for you, darling. I'm telling you that right now. Yes, that's right. Make a mess.
That is one of Sekou's things. Make a mess. And that's what I did. I made a mess. Yeah, there you go. Mine's is somewhere up here.
Mm-hmm.
He said make a mess. I was like, really? So my kids, now Sekou mentioned this earlier, and I think my Wi-Fi went down. Can you hear me?
I can still hear you, and I can still hear you and see you, and it's still counting down. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So Sekou says make a mess, and it's 2020, and the kids are in the background. Like he already mentioned, they're in the background, jumping on my head and everything, and they're listening in the background. So they start making literally a mess.
Oops.
And I'm like to the kids, you guys are making a mess. And I was like, well, Sekou says make a mess.
Oh, my little nieces and nephews, they're in the background, they're listening. Sorry. Dude, it's so true though, man. Like I live by the Lego principles, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can take these little tiny squares and shapes and make anything out of it. I've seen them make like the Death Star and all kinds of cool stuff out of it, but you don't make those cool things by pulling one square out at a time. And you don't do that. You dump what you got out on the floor, you spread it out in like a puzzle, and you see what you got, and you start building, man. And then as you start building, you start cleaning up the stuff that you don't need and eliminating the stuff that you don't need. It really just is the scriptive process. You visualize it. That's right. You just dump that stuff out. Dude, I am in the process of changing my mind, of upgrading my brain, right? And so what I've been focused on is releasing all of the complaint mindset and focusing only on the growth mindset, right? And it's so refreshing. It just allows me to be so present. The concept is that the complaint mindset is always available to us, right? It's there.
Yeah.
You know, the average human is going to complain about stuff. It's easy, right? It's like a hamburger from McDonald's, right? Like you go, you get it. It's the same thing. It don't really taste all that great, but you know it's the same all the time. And the growth mindset is only accessible when you look up. It's only accessible when you're striving for more. And so I look for ways to practice the growth mindset, right? The growth mindset looks at the exact same set of scenarios, and that, you know, we watch people complain about the shutdown or masks or whatever, right? the gas prices and this and that. And then the growth mindset is like, okay, so you know, if gas prices are like that, this is going to provide me with an opportunity to talk to more people while we all walk in places and while we all ride someplace. And it's going to give us as a community a rallying point to talk to each other about. Innovation is going to come out of this. Like there's going to be so much more EVs that are sold as a result of that 1 month of super high gas prices. I don't know if they're going to come down rapidly, but who cares at this point? Because I spend more money on coffee and Jeet and all of that than I do on any gas.
Yeah.
You know, the perspective. You ready? Here's perspective, right? A gallon of gas costs $5, $6, $7, et cetera, et cetera. I take insulin. My insulin is $1,500 for 6 or 8 vials for a month's worth, right? So if I want to really access complaint, I could access complaint about that. But instead, I look at the growth mindset and I'm like, I remember when I was broke, and even when gas was $1.95, it was like it was $10 a gallon for me.
It doesn't matter. There's always something. I love that. We spoke about this on. So John and Anna Mann wrote the 5th Go Giver book, The Go Giver Marriage. That is a book to get. Absolutely, you know, I can't. Everyone should read it, whether or not they're married or not, or if they're single, or if they're in a relationship, because everyone's is focused on marriage, but we're all in a relationship.
Yes,
talking to people all the time. And so this is something Anna and John both stress so much, is exactly what we're talking about. We are so used to and familiar about complaining, about criticizing the other person, and criticizing what's happening. And we build these blocks of criticism. And when we build these blocks of criticism, it's hard to see past that the gratitude. What happens is when you're not even going to try, and I loved what John said about this, don't even try to not focus on the negative. Don't say I don't want to focus on the negative. Just focus on the gratitude, and everything else will take care of itself. Everything else will just take care.
It's like a bright light in a long dark hallway, right? It just becomes so easy to just focus on the light now. That's it. I don't care how long the hallway is. I don't care how dark the hallway is. I got something to focus on. My family used to safari in South Africa, often. And when you go from, say Zimbabwe to Botswana, right? That's a 3,000 kilometer ride, right? That's a hell of a long ride. They don't have street signs. They don't have highway signs the way I'm used to. I can get to DC from here just following the signs, right? it's not the same. They got these little stones next to the road that are like mile markers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked this guy, the last guy that we have is this guy named Daffy. And I asked him, I'm like, yo, how do you know where you're going, dude? And he was like, oh, those stones. I was like, yeah, but you can't see those. Like how the hell do you know? And he goes, and he points at this flag that you can just barely make out in the distance. Like just barely make out in the distance. And I'm like, well, what's that? He was like, that's where gas is. He says, I just go from gas station to gas station, and you could see one gas station from the other with the naked eye.
Yep.
And he says, all you have to do is just keep that thing in your sight and go in that direction. And he says, there's one in each of the 4 directions to where you have to go. Yep. And as long as you know the color of the flag that you're pointed toward, you can cross the desert one flag at a time. I was like, my jaw dropped. But it does solve a problem for the family. If they say, "Are we there yet?" You can just look at the damn flag. Look at the damn flag.
That's how it is in India. Like, now they have signs and everything. When I was a kid and we used to go there all the time, and that's exactly what we would see. We would see the stones.
Little stone.
And it's like marked. The town was marked and the numbers marked. It's like when we see New York 90.
Yes.
And it's 90 miles. We know it's 90 miles away. So instead of a sign, that's a sign. It's on a stone.
That's it. That's it.
But we're forced to use our brain and look at our surroundings and our environment. And I really like that, Sekou, because I think that's something that most of us have lost is sight and awareness.
I've been, one of my biggest challenges now is taking adults that all know what to do and getting them to believe what to do. Right? When we're kids, we would make believe. We would make believe all the time. We would believe we were superheroes or believe that we were race car drivers or whatever. And for us, it was completely real in our brain. And we could go on for hours just playing like this character that we believe in. Well, yeah. The adult human puts that part away and they deal with what they know and what they can prove and what's written down. And I think that's all BS. I think we should go back to making belief, right?
Right. You said something that I read actually in one of the success magazines that Glenn Sanford said. And Glenn is our CEO. If anybody doesn't know, he's the founder of eXp Realty. And this is what he said it perfectly, Sekou, and he said it. There is a difference between believing you can do it and believing you will do it. I knew enough about internet lead generation. I understand real estate. I had a good mentor in that business. I believed that I would be successful as opposed to believing I could be successful. I believe that I would be successful as opposed to believing I could be successful. Yep.
Listen, we all of us have access to the same power of our dreams. All of us. And the challenge as a coach, the challenge that I have is not that, people they don't have the ability to do these things. The challenge is to get them to want to and believe that they will. And the exercises that we do, the exercises that we go through, we had a great one today. You've done this with me before. The what do I want to achieve? What skills do I need to achieve it? And how does the world change when we do achieve it? Man, some of the ideas that came up on the board today, we did it digitally, so forgive the fact that there's nothing else written here. I did it, on
the. I have right here digitally. I have
so
all the notes from you are all stashed in here.
We we are unlocking the potential of the human dream. That's where I'm doing, man. I spend all my time unlocking the potential of the human dream. I'm very, very, very honored to be able to work with people I think are the best in the business, and I credit you as one of those that are the best in the business. Um, Anybody that gets a chance to work with you will agree.
Thank you.
That's just the reality.
I appreciate that, but I have to give you credit and you because you've been doing so much. And I know like Lisa and Andrea and Lavon, I was just talking to her last week.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Vaughn.
and it was so funny because so she's in Brooklyn and
Mm-hmm.
she's coming out this way. And then I thought of you, something that you said like last year. And I said, what are you doing driving back and forth on? And she's like, I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't, it wasn't in my head that, oh yeah, Jeet is out here. I was like, you know what?
It's from what I understand that once we start dreaming bigger and we start attaching Jeet to the dream and Lavon to the dream and such to the dream, then when we think about doing things, our reticular activation system, our RAS, our dream brain will put you in focus.
Yeah.
And it just makes it a lot easier for us to, man, collaborating has become so much easier now that I know that I have superheroes all over the world.
Yeah.
It just becomes so much easier. It's just, I want to do X, Y, and Z. I wonder what Jeet would do. I wonder what Vaughn would do. It's just so much easier.
How would Lisa teach? Because that's her superpower is teaching.
That's her superpower.
And then her soft spoken, like when you just want to listen, you're like, oh.
Okay. And she accesses information so powerfully that she'll raise her hand and she'll be like, all right, but wait, you got to break this down for me. And it forces you to explain it a different way. And it'll check your ego because you think you hot stuff, that you explaining stuff, and she'll be like, no, break that down for me.
Break that down, yep. That's what that doesn't mean. She's like, hold on, Jeet, slow down, go back a bit.
Yeah, man. And that for me is the real deal. That's how you act. If Jeet, one of my questions for my clients is, describe your ideal customer or client. And they start going off on tangents and long sentences. And they say, well, if it's so easy, you do it. Describe your customer or client. I said, my ideal client is an agent that asks me questions I don't know the answers to. Simple.
Perfect.
Yeah. And they're like, I'm like, yeah, I got to work hard for those agents. I don't want the agent that's asking me questions that I've said 99,000 other times.
Yeah.
Right? I want the one that's like, okay, I got all of that, but how do you do X, Y, and oh, okay. I don't know. Let's find that out, You
work through it. And you're so great at that. And anybody who's working with you is blessed because that's exactly what you do. You'll say it. And then if you go out, and I've said this 1,000 times, I think, on our Appointment Academy, and I've said it during the Commitment to Capping, our 8 o'clock calls. If you take what you and Dave say and apply it,
just do it.
Like, honestly, I don't even question it.
Just do it.
I just do it, and and then I'll come back to you and say, I did it. This is what happened.
But that's what we're supposed to do, right? So you know me, I'm gonna say it. I equate the real estate business, to the bakery.
Yes.
Right. I always imagine that I own a bakery. And the real estate business is the bakery. Well, if I own a bakery, at some point I gotta bake a damn cake. Yep. Like at some point, I gotta finish something to put that on display.
Yeah.
And so many of us agents own the bakery and wait for people to come in to even turn on the ovens. It's too late.
Yeah.
It's too late. You gotta get messy. You can't make roti without getting flour on your hands.
All over you.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta make a mess.
All over you. It's literally, I cannot, making roti or sabji or anything. You're gonna get food on you. Doesn't matter.
Dude, you
You
roll up
have
it.
to- oh,
There's a spiritual spot in the city called the Mud and Lotus, the Mud and Lotus Spa or the Mud and Lotus Gym or something like that, right? And the young lady was talking about her spa, and they were focused on the lotus part of her logo. And she says, "Dude, that's not even the biggest part of my logo." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, She was like, "The biggest part of my logo is the mud." And
mm,
they were like, "Okay, but it's mud, like, it's messy." She was like, "Dude, no mud, no lotus."
lotus. Yeah.
That's just the reality.
That is so great.
We're
I
mostly mud.
that's what we do. We have to. We gotta. We do. We have to. It's something that you say all the time. We got to go through the 90% no's to get to the 10% yes.
Yes.
And I say this is a thing that I say every single day when I'm sitting in my car. It like asks a thunder. He's in the car and he's driving, and I'm like, I got to go through 90% of the no's to get to that 10% yes. And he's like, I know.
Look, I don't trust my results if I get too many yeses off the bat. I'm like, something's wrong. Somebody's punking me. Like something is going wrong.
I'm gonna put this out in the universe, Sekou, because Chris Voss says this all the time. You don't want to find the yeses. You want to find the nos. And hopefully one day I could get him on here too.
Look. I know you will. I know you will. Look, ask Finale, who I think has had him on.
Oh, really? That's so cool. Because that
right.
Black Swan it intrigues me. I'm like, I want to learn more about the Black Swan.
If there's anybody that I know that not only can have somebody on that would then honor that idea, it's you. It's you.
I appreciate you. I'm gonna interrupt. I have how to contact you here.
Yes.
So I'm gonna put that in the contacts.
Okay. That is my Zen card. Right. That I don't care if you want to do real estate, if you want to do coaching, if you want to get into the Appointment Academy, whatever you want to do. This week, the Appointment Academy is completely free for any agents that want to come through. I don't care what state you're in. We've overcome a lot of obstacles, local obstacles. So if you have local obstacles, you can get on and you'll probably find an agent that's already figured a workaround. And if we haven't, together we will. And the coaching, I have had to open up 20 more slots for coaching. Okay. It's weird. Like I have to like sort of interview agents to see if I can get them into coaching. Yeah. I've been hiring coaches. Yeah,
that's awesome. I know. So tell me, Sekou, what is it that you're focused on right now?
Production.
It's
taking the mind out of the complaint mindset, into the growth mindset, and applying it to production. Right. So to sort of translate for your audience, right now, the number one complaint across the country for every single agent that has not gone through my program is there's not enough inventory. There's not enough inventory. There's too many people bidding. I saw one of your posts where it was like, go and put a bid. Okay, multiple offers, right? So the number one thing that's out there is that there's not enough inventory. So my complaint brain can definitely relate to that. That's frustrating and this and that. My growth brain looks at this as an opportunity, right? And so I very rarely, even when the market is slow and there's nothing but inventory, I very rarely go to the MLS. As a matter of fact, the very last place I go for a deal is the MLS. And so what we've been focusing on is using the growth mindset to communicate with people who are not on the MLS and introduce them to a market that is incredibly warm and inviting to anyone that wants to buy and sell. It's been incredible. It's been incredible. Just accessing that growth mindset. It's all we're focused on. It's fun. It's funny, right? Like if we're talking, if I'm talking to somebody and they're like, I don't have time for, I'll be like, wait, let's access the growth mindset, and to watch them do like mental acrobatics to try to get from I don't have time to I'm spending my time doing something else.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, it's so much fun. It's so
I
much
love
fun.
that. Sekou, that's one of the first things you said to me when we met. So we met in 2019 in New York City. And so energetic. And you're like, this place is so great.
This is awesome.
And one of the things that you said when you spoke to my brother as well is that your goal is to make 10 million years a year.
For the rest of my life. 10 million years a year.
10 million years a year. Try saying that fast.
10, okay.
And you're doing an awesome job at that. This is why I hashtag you as the greatest coach of all time, because you really are. It's not focused about, you're not you focused, and you're focused on the person that you are teaching. And I don't want to mistake that you're not a doormat.
No. I'm one of the toughest coaches you'll ever come in contact with.
Yeah. And it's not that you're giving and then you just, you're just giving and you allow people, you give, and you are at the same time receiving everything that everyone says to you, and then you apply it. How can it serve them better? And then you're an ultimate giving leader.
Oh man. Oh man. I one of my favorite sayings that people hear me say it all the time. I access this all the time. I'm Black, I'm rich, and I'm spoiled. Right? And it's bigger than money.
Yep.
It's bigger than getting what I want. I get to do as I please. I get to move through this life. You come from contribution, you come from gratitude, you just give, and you don't owe the universe anything.
Yep. And you're open to receiving.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You're all of that, and then you're open to receiving, which is so amazing. You have a wonderful story that you've spoken about before on one of your lives that you did with me on your podcast. And you've also said it a few times at the Appointment Academy and on the accountability calls. Where you're from and how that's shaped you to be the person you are.
I'm a Harlem dude, man. I am, I come from a block where the guys that I knew growing up are still standing out there where they grew up. Like, and if they're not gone already, right? And I mean gone, right? If they're not gone already, they're still sitting out there. And I love them. It's nice to go home. It's nice to visit. But I've always been the traveling man. I say I was born in Harlem and raised all over the world. And it's exciting for me to see how far I can go. I give a lot of honor to my mom and to my grandfather. You'll hear me quoting my granddad. You'll hear me quoting my mom. Let me say this on your show. Let me say this, right? I believe in the power of entrepreneurship. I believe in the ownership of the business. I believe in commanding your destiny and things like that. And I respect the person that can show up to work every day, that can punch a clock, that can carry someone else's vision as well. That I am the product of a mom that worked every day of her life. Whether she had dreams, she had a tennis clothing company when I was a kid. She had her own brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've ever seen my mother more happy than when she was producing, some of this stuff, right? There were different body styles. There was the traditional sort of Eurocentric body style that all the tennis clothes were
Okay.
made for. And my mother made tennis clothes for various body styles. The plus, this is before there was a plus size label,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she'd make all of these different, and it was a hit. But, she didn't want her kid at home hungry while she was building a business. So
Mm-hmm.
she focused on sort of supporting other people's dreams. She's worked at some of the top companies and things like that. And she doesn't know that I would have rather her been happy and fulfilled, her dream. But I respect both. I
Yep.
respect that, there's we're often faced with the decision of going the survival way
Mm-hmm.
and taking the risk and going the striving way and the ownership way.
Mm-hmm.
She invested in the survival way, I think, so that I can invest in the striving way. So
That's
I give honor to both, and it's a lot of fun to be able to watch her with her feet up and enjoying her life now.
that's
Because her son is black, rich, and spoiled, and I'm doing my best to give to her.
that's beautiful. And that's, I think that's a lot of people's stories. That this is where our parents have made the sacrifice. Our parents have made the decisions that were based on what they thought at the time best for their children or the future of their children. And like I've seen my dad go through medical school.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen my mom do whatever she needed to do to feed us.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing to get us to where we are now. And like I see my family, like I'm from Queens, and you go back home and you see everyone. I've got family that's thriving, and I've
Uh-huh.
got friends and family that are still.
Sitting right out there in the same place you left them.
Yep. And I give gratitude, and same as you, Sekou, honor to my parents because they've always instilled belief.
Mm-hmm.
Always. They've instilled belief that any one of us, not just the four of us, but my dad used to say this to all of his nephews and nieces too. You could be president of the United States if you want. You just have to want it.
You just have to want it. Be willing to put in the work for it. And the work that your dad is talking about, that Bob is talking about, that you're talking about, that ultimately I'm talking about, the work is 85% mental.
Yes.
It's I've got to want it. I've got to put in the work. That work that I have to put in is accessing the growth mindset as often as possible, whenever possible, and even when it's not possible, to still be accessing the growth part of my mind against all odds.
Absolutely. Even when it's the most hardest time or most like you're struggling to access that part, that's when it matters the most.
We have a saying in my family. In my family, it's not when things are smelling good that you put the air freshener in the air. It's when it stinks that the air freshener is the most valuable. You know what I mean? So it's the trust. It's when there is a scenario that you have to have trust that it's the most important. Not when everything is going sweet and nice.
Yep.
Yeah, it's nice that you trust me. Okay, great. It's easy to trust somebody when everything is sweet and nice. But when the lights are going off, or when there's a bill coming up at the end of the month and there's only such and such amount in the account, trust me, I'll make it happen. Or that's when the trust is important.
I love that because you could apply that to your business.
Anything in any way.
Anything in life and business. Like I just actually had that with one of my deals, and I was grateful enough that my client trusted me, and he said, "I know, I trust what you're doing, so do what you got to do." And at the end of it, I got a great review because he's like, yeah, I didn't have to stress
Yeah.
because she went thick and thin and she went through it. And that's something so valuable. It's going through the adversary,
Whatever. It sounds right to me.
going through the chaos.
Yes.
Use chaos, going through the chaos, and then figuring it out, finding a solution, and making it happen. I think is so important. Whether it be, and I love, you know what I love about these podcasts. It's not necessarily about real estate.
Mm-mm.
You could apply it to it, yes. It's life, it's business, it's relationships. Even if you want to build a relationship with your dog or your cat, you could apply it.
You can apply this. You know what strikes me? There is a saying that I've adopted, right? It says a smooth sea doesn't make a skilled sailor. Right. And so yeah, it's awesome because it's just the fact. In C2C, of course.
You say write it down.
Yeah, write that down, right? So I curse a lot, y'all. I'm being good on the call because it's Jeet, right? So a smooth sea does not make a skilled sailor.
A skilled sailor.
Right. And so we've adopted that in commitment to capping. It's the idea. It's only through the examination and explanation of failure that all growth happens, right? And that's this: a smooth sea doesn't make a skilled sailor. When you get through a storm and you reflect on what you did in order to get through the storm, the next storm is not going to be as difficult, and the next storm after that is not going to be as difficult. You're going to be able to do more, and then you can pass that down to the next sailor that you work with.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You know what I mean?
That is absolutely. You know what, Sekou, because we're coming to the top of the hour, I think it's so beautiful to talk about this in the last few minutes because I give the honor of closing to my guests. And I am so happy that you are the guest today because you just absolutely changed my life from the moment I met you.
Same. It's reciprocal. The reason why I'm open to receiving is because of people like yourself. Like I strive that one of the principles of my life is I strive to maintain and grow my circle with the best people that I know, and I'm very happy to have you in my circle, and I'm glad to be in yours.
Thank you so much. So how can we reach out to you? I put in the comments, so it's on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. The Appointment Academy, Sekou Zen card, and then the quote: "A smooth sea does not make a skilled sailor." Do you know who wrote that?
I don't. It's one of those sayings out in the world, like, you know, a penny for your thoughts or something like that. Like,
well, whoever said it, thank you for that.
Love.
Thank you for having it reach Sekou.
So,
what would you like to close out?
I'll end it by saying this. Do the thing, make the mess, take the action. The cemetery is filled with unpublished works of art. So I don't want you to wait till tomorrow to start the thing. Just start it today. I laugh and say, hey, you remember that time that you started something and it was perfect? Yeah, neither do I.
Perfect. I'm gonna write that down over here.
Make a mess. Make a mess. I love you guys. Find me on Insta. Find me wherever you want to find me. It's the same, Sekou Pyle. And I welcome you with open arms. Thank you so much for having me, Jeet.
Thank you, Sekou. Thank you again for this time. I know your time's so valuable and you've been working all week and you're going to continue to do so. So again, Sekou said it's free this week. Go to appointmentacademy.com and hop in.
Yes.
Trust me, you are not going to. You're going to love it.
You're welcome. I love you guys. Thank you.